Well, good morning, conservatives for McClendon Chisholm. It is great to be with you today. It's a rainy day, but it's sunny inside this studio today, and it is great to have you with us today. A lot of people have already started to vote in the early voting, and we hope that you will too. You'll get to the polls. So please get out and vote. As you know, yesterday I did a walkthrough of some rhetoric that was going on on one of these Facebook groups, or a couple of these Facebook groups, and this is kind of where we're going, and why I'm focusing today's show on the Kipphuts, because of course they are continuing to add to the empty rhetoric that they started just 3 years ago, and of course that was Mark Kipphut. And by the way, I do want to give a shout out to all you leftists out there. I am, of course, Bunker Bob, and that that moniker was given to me by none other than Lorna Kiphut's husband, Mark Kipphut. So when she talks about showing mutual respect, this is kind of where I'm going to be focusing today. We'll talk about, and we'll look at what it means to show mutual respect to one another, and show you why they don't really mean what they say, especially when it comes to campaign rhetoric, which is exactly what they are in. They're in campaign mode, so everything that they say and do will be whatever it will take to win this election. So I think what I'd like to do is just start with a post that Lorna Kipphut made yesterday on her own website. And here's what she says. Yesterday, after knocking on doors and talking with neighbors, I came home to learn my very good friend was a victim of political bullying by David Day when his attorney called her because of a Facebook post. And so let's just stop at that point. If you were with me yesterday, then you know that what we're talking about. She says this is her friend's Facebook post. And what did we go over? We went through slander. We went through absolute lies. Everything that post had was a lie. A lie, a lie, a lie. And Lorna Kipphut has no concern about that. Again, she doesn't want to talk about facts. Watch what she says in this post, because it demonstrates, as I keep saying, they have no desire to debate or to have public discourse on issues. No. It's all conjecture. Just listen to the tone of this. This is politics 101 for Nancy Pelosi. When let's see. In the meantime, see where it says, in the meantime, he and his good friend and political confidant, I think she means confidant, but I'm confident, I will say that, Robert Steinhagen, continue to make, watch this, outrageous and false statements. And let's see which false statements she talks about. Claiming to be the adult in the room. Well, I've never claimed to be the adult in the room. I've just let my actions speak for me. And again, wait a minute. She just said outrageous and false statements. My goodness, if someone makes an outrageous and false statement about me or about anyone, I'm going to say, hey, here is the outrageous and false statement. I'm going to call it like I see it. Where is it? What's the false statement? I'm still waiting to see what the false statement is. Claiming to be the adults in the room, yet he supports Steinhagen's maniacal rantings designed to spew, watch this, hate and discord. You know, the Ku Klux Klan espouses hate. The alt-right espouse hate because they demonize people based upon not their ideas. They just demonize people because of who they are. They demonize people personally. I have never demonized anyone. I have highlighted the facts of evidence. I have put a mirror up to those whose actions they say are supposed to be conservative. That's not hate. You know, truth sounds like hate to those who hate the truth. Lorna Kipphut interprets all of the facts, all of the truth that has been espoused as hate. That's what a leftist does. My campaign is focused on the future of our city. Really? Well, I wish, wouldn't it be a good idea if she would let us know what her plan for the city is actually, instead of just saying, well, I want a better city. And we'll talk, and we're going to look at her campaign propaganda, her rhetoric, if you will. She says, David continues to demonstrate, David Day, that's her opponent, who's a veteran. David continues to demonstrate he is out of touch with families of McClendon Chisholm. Really? David Day is out of touch with families of McClendon Chisholm. Let me see. David Day has grandchildren, and yet he and his wife have adopted a young boy who was in an incredibly terrible situation. And he is raising that child where once there was no hope for that child. Now, this child has an amazing future. How is he out of touch with the families of McClendon Chisholm? Let me see. Lorna, do you have young children at home? I don't think you do. Your children, who, by the way, I met your daughter. Wonderful, wonderful young woman. I met her 3 years ago during voting. She came over to our tent where Wayne Orchard and I were. She introduced herself. She was incredibly well spoken, very, very lovely daughter. And I understand why you and Mark are incredibly proud of her. But I'm just curious to know, how is David Day out of touch with the families of McClendon Chisholm? He's actually going to be he's going to be going to soccer practice pretty soon, or baseball practice, or football practice pretty soon. He's going to know more about the day-to-day life of most of the citizens of McClendon Chisholm, while you and Mark, who are retired, will not. You'll have your grandchildren, I'm sure, come over from time to time. But if there's anyone who will be in touch with what the families of McClendon Chisholm are going through, it would be David Day, your opponent. Here's what she says. Please stop the lies. Okay, again, give us the lie. Share with us the lies that we're perpetuating. Stop abusing your neighbor and show respect, all caps. Abusing his neighbor. Let's see. She slandered him. She said that it was just go back to yesterday and look at everything. I went through her entire post, Mrs. Kipphut. By the way, this is the treasurer of current Mayor Keith Short's political campaign for office. Okay, so she is someone who is donating to your campaign. She is someone who supports you. Oh, is that why that you don't want her called out? You know, the problem, I'll tell you, the problem with David Day is the same problem that Adrian Balcom has. She and David, they don't mind standing up to the liberal left like you. David Day is a kind of no nonsense type guy, and I realize that you and Mark, you don't like no nonsense. You like very up in the air. You're very non-committal to most anything that you want to talk about. We get that. I get that. But see, David Day and people like David Day who stand on the conviction of their beliefs, which is something I'm going to prove. I'm going to show that you and Mark do not. I'm going to show you today. David Day stands on the conviction of his belief, and that bothers you. It bothers you that Adrian Balcom does the same thing, that Scott Turnbull does the same thing. I get it. Respect. Show respect. You know, the first way to show respect is to be honest and not lie. You're lying about them lying, about us lying. If you are tired of divisive politics, she writes, please vote for me. What? If you love divisive politics, then vote for Lorna Kipphut. That's what you should have written there. A committed conservative. I'm going to show you that there's one thing Lorna Kipphut is not. That is a committed conservative. She is a committed liberal, but not a committed conservative. And I'm not judging her by her words. Her words are amazing. And I'm going to focus on that. She writes, a committed conservative who will work for you, the people of McClendon Chisholm. Yeah, this is the something that I find interesting about Lorna Kipphut is she talks about here, stop abusing your neighbor and show respect for others. I'm just curious, is Adrian Balcom, Jim Herron, and Scott Turnbull, Lorna, are they your neighbors? Are they your neighbors? Because I'm pretty sure that they are. I'm still thinking about when the clown of our city who dances around his sign that he put out that had the three pictures of Adrian Balcom, your neighbor, Scott Turnbull, your neighbor, and Jim Herron, your neighbor, with X's marked through them, and highlights the fact that, hey, the Kipphuts put one on their property. How about that? Hey, let's all celebrate that. This is your idea of respect. Oh, it's mutual respect. Okay, mutual respect. Is that the new buzzword? Is that how you're going to now frame the message? Mutual respect. Okay, so if someone doesn't show you respect, you're not going to show them respect. I'm not sure. I don't know what respect means to a leftist. To me, as a conservative, respect means telling the truth. Period. That's it. If you want to, I mean, if we're interacting one-on-one, I can be respectful. I've got people who are Democrats that are friends that are liberals, not just Democrats, but out and out liberals who are friends of mine. Why? Because we can be respectful. I engage in discourse with people who I respect but disagree with all the time. Why is it that you seem to think that you have cornered the market on this? Well, let's continue to look at this. And again, I keep going back to, I think the best way to show respect is through being honest and not telling lies. What about your husband, Lorna? What about the puppet master himself? Here's what he posted. What I find interesting is Balcom and Turnbull have increased the effective tax rate. No, they have not increased the effective tax rate. That is a lie. The city council, a city council does not raise the effective tax rate. The city council can only raise the tax rate, not the effective tax rate. The tax rate. What I find interesting, and I'm going to highlight this in just a little bit, is how your campaign propaganda, Lorna, your campaign propaganda shows that you're going to keep the tax rate low, right? You want to lower the tax rate. You're very specific. Words mean things. You're very specific in this. Mark Kipphuts is talking about the effective tax rate. Why don't you talk about the effective tax rate? Why don't you talk about that? Why? Because you have no control. If you're elected, you have no control over the effective tax rate. The Rockwall County Appraisal District has every bit of control over the effective tax rate. And the effective tax rate is an estimate until it is finalized, which comes after you vote on the tax rate. You see, because people protest their taxes. I'll be protesting my taxes this year again. How many of you out there want to strangle the Rockwall County Appraisal District? It's why I joined with Rockwall Mayor Jim Pruitt in trying to have the head of the Rockwall CAD removed, because they are out of control. That's who's out of control. If you want to have, if you have a problem with the tax rate in McClendon Chisholm, and if you have a problem with the tax rate at your home, that's the problem. You see, Scott Turnbull and Adrian Balcom and me and Wayne Orchard, Jim Herron, the guy whose picture is on these signs, Sim Woodham, we all lowered your tax rate. Oh, but let's be respectful here. Let's be respectful. Let's see what else let's see what, again, Lorna Kipphut, how she defines respect. And this comes from her husband, right? And remember, these are two peas in a pod. They increased the size and scope of government. And why did that happen? Was it because Mark Kipphuts, the man who's writing this, played bait and switch with the city council and refused to allow the city to audit the McClellan-Chisholm Volunteer Fire Department's budget books? This is why we have a new fire department. It was I put in my State of the City address, in two of them, I said I want to keep the volunteer fire department. I want them to be accountable. That's the only thing I wanted. But Mark Kipphuts played politics with your public safety, and his wife is doing this, does the exact same thing. Lorna, you're doing the exact same thing. They increased the city budget, he goes on. Not true. Increased the city budget. Well, maybe that is true because you've got a new city, you've got a new fire department, and every year costs go up. Are you okay? Let me make sure, Lorna. Are you going to decrease the city budget? That's what I'd like to know. So, are you going to make a promise to decrease the city budget? Let's mark that, okay? Because this is what Mark Kipphuts is saying. So you're going. How are you going to control the effective tax rate? Are you going to decrease the size and scope of government? Because your husband helped increase it for us. Are you going to decrease the city budget? Are you? I'm just writing these things down because we want to make sure that we follow up with you. Because if you are elected, we're going to be holding you accountable, something that leftists are not used to, I realize. They increased the number of ordinances. Actually, we decreased ordinances that impacted citizens, that restricted citizens' liberties. We decreased the number of those. You know what the ordinances that we added? We added ordinances that provided more protection for citizens, that gave you. It was restrictions on developers, on government, not on you, not on the citizens. No, see, so this is, again, words mean things. He's being very, very careful in how he talks about this. Very deceitful. And then finally, this is my favorite one. They are under an active investigation by the Rockwall Sheriff, assisted by the Texas Rangers, for open meetings violations. If you've seen the knife-wielding man video, then you know what you know that Mark Kipphuts is lying. You know that the reason we were under investigation by the Sheriff's Department is because your husband, Mark Kipphuts, filed false statements, made up charges so that they could use that in the election. We saw your the leader of your party, Nancy Pelosi, explain it and how he did it and why he did it. They are under an active investigation with Rockwall Sheriff. When this was written, that is not true. That actually, Rockwall Sheriff has no active investigation. And then let's look at the Texas Rangers. Do they have an active investigation? This was April 16th. This was just 1 week ago. 1 week and 1 day ago is when Adrian Balcom received this from the Texas Department of Public Safety. This is from the Texas Rangers, and here's what they say. Dear Ms. Balcom, the department received your above reference on April 5th. The department has conducted a good faith search for any and all information related to your request and has not been able to locate any responsive records. No investigation or case file was created. You see, this is the difference between conservatives like me, like David Day, like Adrian Balcom, like Scott Turnbull, and liberals like Lorna and Mark Kipphut. Let's just call you, since I'm Bunker Bob, since your husband named me Bunker Bob, let's just call you Lying Lorna. How about that? How does that fit you? I'm basing it upon your actions, not your words. You know what? I realize people are probably going to email me and say, look, why do you keep talking about Mark Kipphut? It's her husband. That's not the candidate. You can't hold her accountable for the things that she says and does. Maybe she disagrees with him. I know how you behave. I get that. Well, why would I call him two peas in a pod? Well, where did I get that from? I got that not from I didn't make that up. I got it from Mark Kipphut. See, this is the mail piece that Mark Kipphut put out. This was when Wayne Orchard and I were running for office. And if you notice, what does he say? What does Mark Kipphut say about us? He says that Wayne Orchard and Robert Steinhagen are two peas in a pod. Wow. Okay, so the thing is, Wayne Orchard and Robert Steinhagen have never been married. We don't have that kind of relationship. So if you're married to Mark Kipphut, wouldn't it be fair to say that, hey, maybe the two of you are two peas in a pod too? Let's just look at what your husband, let's talk about what respect looks like for one another. Why don't we do this? Why don't we just look at each of the points that he makes in this piece? He quotes me. If in October, when the budget is under development, the city really does need to raise taxes, both Wayne Orchard and Robert Steinhagen have said that they are willing to do so, ... What is the ... The ... is the same ... wherever I have made a statement like this, the ... is with taxpayer consent. That ... is kind of important. You understand the difference, the half truth. See, I may have said that so that you guys can, Mark Kipphut can say, well, he did say that. But again, this is the knife-wielding man. This is a guy who is going up to a woman, sleeping woman, and cutting her open and pulling out her intestines with his hands. That's what Mark Kipphut's doing here. How is it different? Oh, it doesn't scare you? How is it different? It's not. But lying Lorna doesn't have a problem with this. Nope, she's good with this. How about the next one? Military experience, he says. He's quoting here. Military experience has zero value in this election. Your medals do not mean anything, ... He says that I said this. Robert Steinhagen addressing decorated Air Force veteran Mark Kipphut, April 23rd, 2016. On that day, that was the day that Mr. Kipphut was campaigning across the street from my house and talking with a Navy veteran who happened to have a sign in his yard, the same sign that you've seen before if you saw the knife-wielding man video, that for the tax rollback, for Wayne Orchard, and for Robert Steinhagen. Of course, Mark Kipphut at that time was running against who? Wayne Orchard. And as I've shared before many times, Mark Kipphut we would drive by people's houses and who had our sign in their yard, and we would stop because they would also have a Mark Kipphut sign in their yard, and we would stop and we would say, hey, why do you have a Mark Kipphut sign in your yard? What would they say? They'd go, well, what do you mean? Isn't he running with you? And I'd say, no, he's running against Wayne Orchard. He goes, oh, well, he made it sound like he was running with you, that he agreed with everything you said. I would say, no, that no, he will do and say whatever he needs to say to get elected, which was true. How would you have two signs against two people running against each other in the same yard if that weren't true? But the problem with this is I never said what Mr. Kipphut is claiming that I did. I never said this. And the person, the Navy veteran, Korean War veteran, who was there, when I showed him this piece, he said, that man is a damn liar. Yep. Boy, that is absolutely true. I never said it. I don't believe that. I know that what we were talking about at the time had to do with the tax rollback. I asked him a question. I said, Mark, why don't you explain to him why you are opposed to the tax rollback? And I remember Mark Kipphut, his answer was, well, I'm a veteran. And my response to him, well, what does that have to do with the tax rollback? And Mr. Kipphut, who has the thinnest skin in the world, has no capacity to respond or rebut. Why? Because he doesn't have facts on his side. Let's keep going. It says, Orchard and Steinhagen offered no opposition or leadership when RCH recently raised your water rates by 40%. Let's see. Who was on city council, a 30-plus year councilman who was retiring from office, who was also the chairman of the RCH Water Board? Oh, that's right. It was a guy named Jack Pullen. You're probably familiar with Jack Pullen. He's a donor to Mark Kiphut's campaign back then. He's been a supporter of Mark and Lorna Kipphut, and continues to support them. So Mr. Kipphut is sitting here saying, well, I didn't show any leadership. What kind of leadership is Mark Kipphut showing in this? Let's not forget that at the time, you got to understand, RCH is a private, not-for-profit organization. It has no government affiliation. And I'm just wondering, what did Mark Kipphut do? What did he do? I wasn't in elected office when we were running in this race. Neither was Mark Kipphut. Neither of us was in there. But you know what I was leading? I was leading the fight for the tax rollback. I got it on the ballot, despite the fact that Mark Kipphut opposed it and tried to get people not to vote for the tax rollback. Interesting, huh? And this is I guess what mutual respect looks like to the Kipphuts. Mutual respect. Then the last thing on here, Orchard and Steinhagen are distributing literature that is disparaging to first responders who keep us safe. An absolute, total, complete, and utter lie. Complete and utter lie. Absolute, complete, and utter lie. Mr. Kipphut could not provide any evidence, none, that I or Wayne Orchard ever disparaged first responders who keep us safe. The problem is the first responders were being led by a fire chief who was in the midst of taking taxpayer dollars and pocketing it. Now, this is the mail piece back then. It's the link is on. I'll put it on the YouTube site. You can look for yourself. This is the literature that I distributed, that I mailed out. You'll notice there's nothing of the kind that Mr. Kipphut is claiming. Never, not even on my website. I never disparaged anyone about anything. And so the fact that he would say that again demonstrates that Mark and Lorna Kipphut have nothing whatsoever in common with the truth. Leftism, they are great representatives of the liberal left because they don't care what's true. You know, why don't we also then now look at your campaign material, Mrs. Kipphut? This is one of your push cards, what's called a push card. And this is, let's just take it a little bit at a time. Let's start with public safety. You say you work with county sheriff, EMS, and MC Fire Rescue for high quality, low cost public safety. Oh, really? Okay. So what is your plan? What exactly are you going to do? I haven't seen anything. You say, I will ensure our first responders have the best equipment and training to do their job. Well, that costs money. I thought you were going to lower the budget. How exactly are you going to do that? Oh, by the way, how much is it costing you now? How much is it costing you right now as a taxpayer? What is our public safety costing you? The increase in your cost, in your pocketbook? The answer is zero. Why? Thanks to Adrian Balcom, to Scott Turnbull, to Wayne Orchard. Thanks to these people, we got a SAFER grant. Thank you, Adrian Balcom, for finding it. Adrian Balcom is the one who brought it to my attention. She said, hey, Mayor, look at this. Do you think we can get something like that? I went online. I went through a little course. I said, yeah, I think we can do it. You had nothing to do with that. Nothing. But you and your husband had everything to do with trying to stop that from happening. I will get a severe weather early warning system in place. Whose idea was that? Was that yours, or was that Wayne Orchard's? That was Wayne Orchard's. Wayne Orchard had been pushing that, and we also put it in the city survey, by the way. The second one, this is the first city survey. I'm not sure how many of you have actually gone online and looked at the survey and how it's used. But it really is an incredibly important tool. You see, the weather radio, the early warning signs system, we ask that question: is this something that you want as a citizen of McLennan Chisholm? That's why this survey. That's another reason why the survey is so effective and so helpful. It tells us what people want. Community planning. I will engage and collaborate with the county and state on SH 205 expansion to make our requirements and concerns heard. Okay. You're a mayor you're a council member of a little city. I was the mayor, and the state, they listen to a point. But if you're trying to say that they're going to listen to you somehow, that you have some power, that you're going to do more than anyone else could do. Look, the state is going to do what they're going to do. Now, they'll listen, but only within a certain measure. I mean, there's things that they won't do. Let's not forget Mark Kipphut, your husband. You and Mark Kipphut were pushing hard to have a turn lane put into Chisholm Crossing, right? That was what you wanted done. You were pushing for it. And so I, as mayor, I requested that. And what did the state say? We don't do turn lanes. Are you going to get a turn lane for Chisholm Crossing? Are you going to promise that? Let's write that down too. How about that? The state has already established that they don't do turn lanes. Okay. So turn lane into Chisholm Crossing. Those of you who live in Chisholm Crossing, which, by the way, I'm sure you all know that if you win this election, if you get Lorna Kipphut and Trudy Wassner elected, then Chisholm Crossing will have the absolute full and total control over our city, because you'll have three homeowners from Chisholm Crossing who are on the city council. That's a majority. That is an absolute control over the city. One little neighborhood, one phase of development within that neighborhood will have complete control. So I would, if I were you, I would start making your promises now to your constituents there. Let's see. I will judiciously protect our boundaries and not give away land without anything in return. This one is an interesting one, seeing how it's a violation of state law to do a trade for property in an ETJ. That would be a neat trick, but it wouldn't, to me, I wouldn't be surprised if you were able to do something like that, because the law is of little consequence to you. We know it's of little consequence to William Dahl, as I've pointed out in the show number 7. Yeah. So great. Okay. By the way, what ETJ are you planning to give away? What portion? I'm just curious, because I don't know of any, but okay, whatever you say. I guess if that's something important to you, and you want to try to play games with state law and make something happen. Of course, I think this is all political bluster from lying Lorna. Here we go. I will promote small business and support the Economic Development Committee and their ideas to bring in more business to the city, which is consistent to our rural traditions, and to offset taxes. Okay. What precisely are you talking about? You know, we did ask the question in the city survey about what people want. They don't want to see big box stores. They want to see local small restaurants and local small businesses. Now, that's what I noticed, that's what you put in there, but you say you support the Economic Development Committee, which is being chaired by Jim Bloom, or as we all know him as, Jim Frisco Bloom, the man who wants to turn McLennan Chisholm into Frisco, according to him. I have a problem with that. And by the way, economic development does not ensure that tax rates go down. Don't forget, in most every city in the state of Texas where you have growth and development, taxes do not go down. Royce City got an agreement with Buc-ee's. They're putting Buc-ee's in, right? I'm not sure if it's open yet or not, but it's about to be. And you know how much tax dollars they get from Buc-ee's? Nothing. That was the deal. I mean, is that what you're going to offer some of these businesses? See, I oppose that kind of thing. I'm not okay with granting corporations a free ride if they want to come into our state or into our city. But that's just me. I'm a conservative. What do you say? You say, I'm committed to maintaining large lot sizes for homes. Let's be specific. Why don't you tell us a little bit about where you stand on the Triple Creek development? Because all we need, all that's needed is one vote to basically redevelop the Triple Creek development, to take away the requirement that a golf course and an amenity center be built first or built at all. And you don't even have to go to citizens. The development agreement has been approved. Why is it that so many developers are circling the wagons right now? Why is it that there's so many that are coming to our city hall that are looking to see how many homes that they can put in there? Currently, the development agreement is putting 1,867 homes on 409 buildable acres. What I have a question is, are you going to uphold the city's 1.5 acre minimum per home site standard? Notice what she writes here. She writes, I'm committed to maintaining large lot sizes for homes. Large lot size, that's a relative term. Do you know that Sonoma Verde has large lot sizes? You can get a small lot, a medium-sized lot, or a large lot. That doesn't make it 1.5 acres. There's nothing in Sonoma Verde that's 1.5 acres. Nothing in Sonoma Verde that's 1 acre. What is your definition of large lot size? If Mrs. Kipphut, if Lion Lorna comes to your house, ask her what she means. Give you a definition. Lion Lorna, are you going to commit that you will uphold and protect our city's 1.5 acre minimum per home site standard? Because the citizens of McLennan Chisholm, through the survey, not just this survey, this showed us that was the most important thing to citizens. No, it was the second survey where we actually asked a question. I said, I put in a question, would you be okay with us going to 1 acre minimum per home site? Go look at the results of that and explain to me what large lot size is. That should be the question. Have I gotten personal here? Am I giving off any hate? Is this maniacal or is it thought-provoking? That's the difference between a conservative like myself and a lying liberal like yourself. Fiscal responsibility. I am a fiscal conservative. Really? I will fight to lower taxes. Really? Interesting. I just have a question then. If you are a fiscal conservative, you will fight to lower taxes, then explain to citizens why it is you opposed this. You opposed when Wayne Orchard and I were running, you opposed the tax rollback. Why did you oppose the tax rollback? If you're going to fight to keep our taxes low, can you explain why it is you think that you will just suddenly morph into a tax advocate, an advocate for lower taxes? Can you explain how all of a sudden that happens? I can explain it. I can tell you. It's not. You're not telling the truth. You're lying. Lying Lorna. You say, I will fight for small government. I will fight to keep our individual freedoms. Okay. Small government. Define small government. When I was mayor, I defined small government. I put it in writing. I put it in a State of the City address. But you believe in small government, you believe in individual freedoms, but you are opposed to fighting to roll back the tax rate. Where were you? Where were you? Shouldn't your actions speak louder than your words? Not if you're a Kipput. Not if you're lying Lorna. Nope. Mutual respect and unity. This is, okay, mutual respect. We've been looking at all of the mutual respect that you're showing. I will promote polite and constructive dialogue among council members. Okay. Give us an example of what you've done, how polite you've been. You say, I will listen and act on citizens' comments and ideas. Which ones? I believe you're telling the truth. You will listen and act on citizens' comments and ideas. Why? That's the difference between me, a conservative like me, and a lying liberal like you. I actually say, here are the ideas. So long as they fit within this parameter, I'm open to those ideas. But when someone comes in and says, I think we need a city police department, I'm going to tell them, I'm sorry, I listened to your idea. I just think it's crazy. Are you going to listen to are you going to act on everyone's ideas? Of course not. Okay, this is political speak. I'm going to listen to comments and ideas. And here's the best one. I will request frequent town halls to hear directly from each of you. I will hold weekly office hours. When I was mayor, I went to a TML conference, Texas Municipal League Conference, which is where all of the council members and mayors of primarily, it's not the big cities. It's the smaller cities that are part of this. And we're actually on the very low end of the small cities of that group. And one of the speakers in a seminar that I was in said, if you want to create a perception of listening, one of the best ways to do it is through things like town hall meetings, because people will not show up, but you can show them, hey, we wanted to listen to what you had to say. They'll see the invitation in the mailbox and say, hey, my city council members, they want to listen to what I say. And their point was, look, people don't show up. They're busy. Do it on a weeknight. Do it on a weekend. You're never going to find a time where it's convenient for anybody. And frankly, unless there is a hot button issue, people will not show up. So town hall meetings is a great ruse to disguise your liberalism. But that's lying Lorna. What else can we expect? Well, let's look at your mailer. This is the first mailer of, I'm sure, many. I predict that we're going to see at least 3 more mailers come in for Lorna Kipphut, and I suspect so. So this is what's called a bio piece. This is what in politics what they call a bio piece, but kind of a warm and fuzzy. It's got a nice picture on the front, very simple language, and then on the back it kind of gives some very broad issues. Okay, and so let's look at those broad issues. Open spaces. Boy, I love hearing that. And there is your daughter, by the way, who I met, and again, wonderful young woman. You have a lot to be proud of, and I commend you on raising such a spirited and thoughtful young woman. So wonderful job there. She talks, here's what she says. Lorna and her family, after living around the world, chose McClendon Chisholm as home, preserving our open spaces and managing the widening of Highway 205 and all the issues that come with it will require competent leadership at City Hall and a vision for the future. A lifetime of complex leadership responsibilities prepare Lorna to take a stance to do what is right. Here is the problem. She says after living around the world, she chooses to McClendon Chisholm as her home. The question that I have is, well, then why are you using an Arizona area code? Oops, sorry. My dog, Wagner, wants to be in the show. Wagner, you sit. Sorry. Why are you using an Arizona? If you plan on making McClendon Chisholm your longtime home, why is it that you haven't got a Dallas area or Rockwall area code, Dallas area code? Why is it that you use an Arizona area code? If you're here for good and this is your home, that's what you do. If you got 1 foot in and 1 foot out, you keep your old phone. You never know when you're going to need to move. Strengthening our community. It's time to embrace collaboration and begin working together to build a foundation of trust. Oh, by the way, on the last one where it talked about open spaces, where'd she get that idea? Well, she got that idea from the survey, because she knows that that's the number one issue on voters' minds. So the next time Lorna Kipphut says, oh, it's a politically motivated survey, don't do it. Just remember that she's getting most of her information about what voters want from that survey. So strengthening our community, it's time to embrace collaboration and begin working together to build a foundation of trust. Well, when you lie to people, lying Lorna, how can we trust you? Lorna will have an open door policy in order to invite the community to discuss ongoing issues and promote town halls with healthy dialogue. Again, going to create the misimpression that you're actually listening. Got it. Lorna will also focus on reestablishing the balance of power between the city council and the mayor. You know, when I was mayor, the policy that I had was we work as a collective, that the mayor does not run roughshod over the council, that the collective decision is the decision that I will stand on because we have deliberated the issue. And I brought up some issues that I thought the council would embrace, and they said no, they were not okay with that. Why? Because I believe in the power of the collective. Each member of the council is valuable because each one was elected. So how exactly, I mean, Keith Short has basically taken over and he takes the position as CEO very, very literally. He's the CEO. He cannot vote, but he can cancel a city council meeting before election day because of what's happening. If you haven't seen the message to veterans, folks, you need to watch that, because this is what Keith Short wants to prevent. He wants to keep the voice of conservatism quiet. It's the message to veterans. All right, these efforts will concentrate on what truly matters: a thriving community where people feel empowered, safe, and welcome. Define thriving. My definition of thriving is government out of our back pockets, that we can live freely, have liberty, and enjoy our open spaces. That to me is a thriving community. I don't think that's the same as your definition. Fiscal conservative. As a fiscal conservative, Lorna will work to reduce the tax rate and improve services to the community by cutting wasteful spending. Really? Like what? Be specific. What wasteful spending? Oh, is it the survey? Is that what it is? The survey. I'll bet that's what it is. You want to get rid of that so that you can create the illusion that you're listening by having quote unquote office hours and doing town halls. By the way, when I was mayor, I was in the office all the time. We had coffee chats where people could come in and they could talk over coffee in the mornings, and they were well attended, and people did show up more than I ever thought would. You'll have office hours. Okay, great. She believes government should operate within its budget. Yeah, and we did. By the way, we've had a balanced budget the last 3 years. Even though you and your husband, Mark, are lying by saying we don't. Lying Lorna. She believes government should operate within its budget just like our families do every day. Great rhetoric. Great rhetoric. Again, she's saying all the right things. Why? Because she knows what the people in McLennan and Chisholm really think. How does she know that? Through the survey. Keeping us safe. Lorna has worked her entire life as a public servant, as a career Air Force officer. And by the way, thank you for your service. Never once have I ever disrespected those who have served. Never once, despite the fact that your lying husband said I did. Your husband is an infraction of a man. It's no wonder that you outranked him. It reminds me of something a line from A Few Good Men that I won't repeat, but apropos in this situation, I would say. And though volunteering and through volunteering in the community, Lorna believes the primary role of government is to protect its citizens. I would agree. Lorna will ensure our community has fire protection. No, you know what? You know who guaranteed that we had fire protection? Adrian Balcom, Scott Turnbull, Jim Herron, Sim Woodham, Wayne Orchard, Robert Steinhagen. That's who guaranteed we had fire protection. Because when the fire department said, we're not going to serve you anymore, we actually took action and started making sure that the people of McClellan-Chisholm would be protected. No thanks to your lying husband who played politics with our public safety. Lorna will ensure our community has fire protection, developing early warning procedures, and other tools necessary to keep our homes and families safe. Boy, this is what you call a true example of political rhetoric at its most base level. You know, I have said it before in the knife-wielding man, a Republican is not a conservative make. And so when I read rhetoric like this, when I read this kind of thing, I go, yeah, that's the kind of candidate that I can get behind. Of course I could. Who wouldn't? And the reason why is because I'm a conservative. What is she saying? She's saying all the right things. Why? Because she wants to win an election. But her actions, as I've demonstrated, are very different than her words. I want to leave you with this very important quote by a great man, a guy named Booker T. Washington. And I think it's apropos for what we're talking about here. He says, a lie doesn't become truth. Wrong doesn't become right. And evil doesn't become good just because it's accepted by the majority. My friends, don't forget that this election, you have an opportunity to choose between right and wrong, truth and deceit. And I encourage you to please pass along the knife-wielding man video to your friends, to your neighbors. Let them see what you're seeing, so that you can so that they can become informed. An informed electorate is going to be the greatest tool to prevent the left from succeeding in our city. Well, I appreciate you being with me today. I look forward to being with you tomorrow. And don't forget to subscribe to the YouTube channel. I don't get any money. I'm not monetized for it. All it does is it makes sure that you are alerted when a new show comes up. So I hope you have a wonderful day. Enjoy the rain, because remember, there was a time we were in drought. So let's thank God for the blessing of rain. It's a wonderful thing. We'll see you tomorrow.